Hello, hello. We are starting out with a sanded, washed, and then spray painted cup. We are using Rustoleum 2x French Lilac. Right, here we are mixing up some epoxy. I am using Counterculture DIY, medium viscosity. All right, once our epoxy is all mixed up, we're going to go ahead and apply it to our cup. We are going to use roughly maybe 20 milliliters. This is on a 20-ounce skinny tumbler. You just want to make sure you have really good coverage, not too thick, not too thin, just a normal coverage. So after we have that done, we're going to go ahead and let that sit for maybe 20 minutes or so. We're going to use some Arteza paint. I can't see what color that was. It's a dark purple. So anyways, you want your epoxy on your spinner to spin for probably about 20-30 minutes, so it's nice and leveled out and it's starting to set up. All right, on this tumbler, we're also going to be using a Ghost Mica from It's Pretty Personal. This is the 2G. It is a purple color. It shimmers purple in certain light and is white in other certain light. Well, not really white, but more of a see-through. It works really, really well on dark colored bases, but for something like this, it's also perfect because it gives you that nice shimmer of color in perfect light. So I really love it for this project. I'm also using some glitter. I chose to use Cherish Sweet Lilac. This is also from It's Pretty Personal. It was one of a custom mix of a line that she did. And so it's no longer available unless she chooses to make it again, which I hope she does. It's absolutely stunning. So once you have all of your things that you're going to be doing and it's been about 20 to 30 minutes, you want to go ahead and split out your leftover epoxy. I would say I mixed a total of about 60 milliliters total, 30 of A and 30 of B. So I'm now splitting those into 3 smaller cups, one for our paint, one for our mica, and one for our glitter. So for the paint, you're just going to want a little tiny bit. It's not going to take much at all, a very small amount of epoxy. You're literally just going to put a drop in there, and then you're going to go ahead, come on, drop, there we go. And then we're going to go ahead and mix that up really well so it's nice and mixed in with your epoxy. Now with paint in epoxy, it tends to get really stringy really fast. I am just using a metal stir stick to go ahead and get this all mixed up. If you let this sit for too long or you stir it too long, it's going to get super, super stringy. So you want to kind of work fast once you put the paint into your epoxy. We're going to go ahead and let that just leave it be for just a minute while we mix up our Ghost Micas. This does not take very much at all, just one tiny little scoop. Clearly I can't find something to use for a tiny scoop. Oh, there we go. Okay, so one tiny little scoop into your epoxy, and then you're going to mix it in. And then you will do the same with your glitter. Now with the glitter, I'm going to be using a little bit more. You want a good amount in there, so there's not a lot of white or clear parts in your glitter. I don't know. You just want your glitter to be nice and thick, not a little bit of glitter per epoxy. You want it to be a nice stream of glitter. So once you have those, go ahead and mix them up. That's the Ghost Mica, nice and white. And once it gets on there, it works its magic. And then we'll mix up our glitter, and I'll spare you this part and rush through it. All right, we have everything all mixed up, ready to put on our cup. So we're going to go ahead and start with our paint first. And we're going to go into a diagonal pattern. Once we put this on the cup, I like to make my diagonal lines go from the bottom left to the top right, because then if I want to add a name or something, I can lay it so it follows the diagonal lines and it reads bottom to top, left to right. So it's just a personal preference. So I'm just dipping my finger in the epoxy a little bit, and I'm just drizzling a little bit on here and there, kind of where I think I'm going to want it to be. Once you have this placement on here, now remember our epoxy's been kind of doing its thing. It's been working on setting up for about 30 minutes or so. So you're just going to take your finger or a, whatchamacallit, makeup spatula thingy, a silicone. That's what I'm looking for. You can take a silicone spatula and you can kind of rub it in that way. I just like to use my finger because then I can kind of move it where I want it and yada yada. So you just go ahead and do this until you're happy with the way you've smeared it around, and then we will move on to the next step. Okay, so I want to jump in here real quick, and I just want to let you know that if you get a spot where it's kind of thick and there's a lot going on, I like to take some, just a glove part of my hand that's clean, and I'll just kind of swipe right down the middle of it to try to break it up a little bit, because marble doesn't typically have a lot of big chunks in it, I don't think. So if you do get too much, just rub it in and then just, press hard and just kind of remove some of the stuff that you have on there if you end up with a part that's too thick in color. All right, here we are ready to start applying our glitter. So same thing we're going to do with the glitter as we did with the paint part. We're going to start at the bottom left and we're going to work diagonally up to the top right. Once again, I do that for my name purposes. You don't have to do it that way. You can do it the other way if you want. It doesn't matter. So remember, our epoxy has been setting up, so you're going to notice there's not going to be a whole lot of running going on. It's going to stay kind of thick and up away from your cup because we're putting it on kind of thick. As you can see, it looks almost like it's a 3D drip type of look, but we're going to fix that. So you're just going to kind of put it on however you want. I like to do little half stripes from the bottom to the middle, then from the middle to the top, some just in the middle. Whatever you want to do. I like to do my glitter lines a little bit thicker than I did the paint. So I typically do one and then I just let my cup spin and I'll go back over the same spot with more glitter the second and possibly even a third time till I have it as thick as I want. Once we're happy with the way it looks on our tumbler, we are going to go ahead and take a silicone spatula or throw on a glove if you need to, just something that we can use to flatten this out a little bit. We don't want it to be super flat, but we don't want it to be so raised. So we're just barely lightly, we're not going to even really put any pressure on it. We're just going to lightly run it across the top of that to smooth it out a little bit so that it's not quite so different in dimension from the epoxy we have on the cup. So like I said, you don't need to push hard, just kind of lightly go over the top of it, skim the top, whatever you want to call it, until you feel like you have a pretty level surface. Now, if you want to keep it bubbling, you want to go for the whole 3D look, go for it. You're just going to have more work to get a smooth layer of epoxy when you're done. So however you want to do it. Once you have all of that smoothed out and you're happy with the way it looks, you're going to go ahead and we're going to go in with our ghost mica. And with the ghost mica, I like to just go in a little bit. I like to do not too much, not too little. I'm going to go in with just some thin strings, as you'll notice here in just a second, if I hurry up and get to it. I really have to trim these videos out and do a lot of editing because most of them I do live. So anyways, once you get that mixed up, I always stir it before I do anything else. We're going to do the same thing, bottom left to the top right. I like to go over just a little bit of my dark purple paint with the ghost micas in some spots, just because it really makes that ghost mica look really cool. It kind of brings it out a lot. So I like to go over some of the darker areas, and then I will do just a few stripes here and there in between, where the cup's kind of naked and it doesn't really have anything. So yeah, just keep adding until you're happy. Less is more sometimes. That's one of these techniques that the more you keep adding, yes, it's really pretty, but it's usually not the kind of look that you wanted to go for in the end of it. So I always think if it looks good, just stop. Don't keep going, just stop, which I struggle with a lot. So anyways, just add that ghost mica until you're happy with it. Once again, once I have it all on there and I am satisfied with the look of things, I'm just going to go in with my silicone brush one more time, and I'm very lightly, once again, you're just barely going over the top of it, really not applying any pressure over the whole thing, and that's just going to kind of help us smooth it out so we don't have any, big old waves or anything when we're trying to do our next layer of epoxy. It just makes your future work a lot less if you go ahead and just kind of flatten things out, because our epoxy has started to set up by this time because it's been so long since we've been working with it. But as our cup spins, we don't want it to move a lot, but it's not set up enough to where we can just hang it or let it dry. So it's got to keep spinning. So because of the way we did this and we were patient, it's not going to get any more movement. It's pretty much going to stay put where it is. So as it spins, it's just going to continue to cure instead of move. Now, depending on the technique I am doing, with this particular technique, and I'm not going to be doing anything else to the bottom of the cup, I'm going to go ahead and add my logo onto the bottom. I use very small foil, I don't know what they're called, foil sheets that I cut by hand, and I stick them on with wet epoxy. I ordered these from Spangled Dreams. You can find her on Facebook, and I use the shot glass size, so they're super small, so they just fit right there in the center of the thing. It has my logo, and it's also got a couple care instructions if you can squint and read that small, but I like them small instead of covering the whole bottom of the cup. Personal preference, she offers more than one size. Okay, here is our work in progress. It is not cured, but it's not going to run anymore. See, you can kind of see the ghost mica there in the middle. Once the light hits it a certain way, it's super, super pretty. I'm obsessed with this style. So anyways, that's how I do my marble tumblers, and I will see ya next time.